Whoa, okay, so before this episode takes a turn for the super serious and sad, I want to tell you that Tour de Manwhore is extending its deadline for the following cities: Detroit, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C. You've got until April 16th to sell those last few tickets and get your very own Manwhore Podcast live show experience. Make it happen, all right. Visit manwhorepod.com/tour and get your ticket now. The Manwhore Podcast is sponsored by hotmovies.com. Try out some ethical, paid-for porn for free with none of those hidden fees or secret subscriptions when you sign up at hotmovies.com and use the promo code MANWHORE. No matter what you've got between your legs, you should have a box of Lola's 100% organic feminine hygiene products in your bathroom, just in case. Get 40% off all subscriptions when you visit mylola.com and use promo code MANWHORE. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Manwhore Podcast.
Shout out to all the hot mamas who make me call them daddy. This is Billy Procida, and you are listening to the Manwhore Podcast. So, about a month ago, I got a out-of-the-blue text message from my ex, my most recent ex, the genderqueer one, the one who has not been named until today. Shay sent me a text one morning. What are the chances you'd want to have me and my director on to talk about Polygon while we do fundraising after March 15th? Shocking text to get from me, I know. One of the main things people ask me about the podcast is like, you going to run out of women? It's like, no, but I may run out of people who say yes to doing the podcast. So you kind of take them as they're ready to do it. So because I love all of you so dearly, I'm just like, all right, I could probably use some more healing time, but let's go ahead and get to it right now. So yes, this week we have on Shay, and I cannot wait. I can wait, let's be honest, but I will tell you more about them in a little bit. But first,
get them hot, get them dates, show dates.
Yeah, I literally got a complaint email that I stopped using Eitan Levine's show dates drop, so I guess that's now part of the routine. Show dates, people. April 14th, I'm going to be at Gutter Bar at 6 o'clock in Williamsburg, okay? It's not stand-up. I'm going to be doing like a fun show. I honestly am not entirely sure what it is, but it's with Keith and the girl. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a fun show. And if you want free tickets, all you got to do is email me, manwhorepod@gmail.com. And of course, ManwhoreCon weekend passes go up in price on April 6th. So that's just a few days away. If you want to still get a super early bird discount pass for $55, head on over to manwhorepod.com/weekend. Of course, members of my Patreon community get a 10% discount off of any weekend pass. If you don't know what ManwhoreCon is, you will surely be hearing more about that in the coming months and weeks. I want to start off with some emails because I got so much response from last week's episode with Blythe Robertson that I was just like, whoa, so controversial. Some good responses, some bad responses, so I want to read some of those to you. It sparked quite some conversations. This first email is titled Canceling Pledge. It starts, "Hey Billy, I'm a new patron, longtime listener, and one of the things that drew me to your show was your interest in growth and continued learning, as I feel it reflects my similar journey in this crazy little world of ours. I've generally been very cool with your opinions and thoughts, ... until today. You had to know how terribly you reacted in this interview, and how you made a very uncomfortable space for your guest to share her thoughts And good for her for still holding her ground and finding a way to move past your defensiveness and general assholery. There were certain points through the interview where I actually cringed. All of this would have been acceptable. But I was waiting for the end so expectantly, hoping you would say something like, I've reflected on this and realized that I may have been wrong. But no, you seriously shocked me by actually doubling down and ending with, it's my podcast, I can do what I want. Like, what the actual fuck were you thinking? You showed no growth, no reflection, and literally played out the definition of toxic masculinity. I'm really sad that this is my first connection to you. I've often wanted to contact you as I work in ethical porn and would love to hear your thoughts on some things. You're the first person I've ever supported through Patreon, and I was really happy to support someone I thought was not an ass. It's like, you're not particularly wrong about any of your points, you're just an asshole about it. I still think you're great. I still think you have a lot of good points and are generally an interesting personality. But the way you acted was pretty egregious, and I don't want to use my money to support someone whose values don't line up with my own. I'll be canceling my pledge until I feel comfortable supporting you again. I really hope it's soon. I really hope the next time we have contact it's under better circumstances, and I really do wish you luck. Cheers, Hunter. So that was not a fun email, right? But, you know, and I say this with zero snark, and I asked this fella, very genuinely, I asked, are you part of the percentage that skips the intro? And I asked that because if one listens to the intro of last week's episode, you'll hear that I agree with the guy. Yeah, I got very defensive talking to Blythe about body image and gender. Particularly the overlapping of those two things. But yeah, I did. I was defensive and I was shocked. And I realized as much as soon as Blythe left my apartment. And again, you've heard this in the intro last week, but I just kind of I stepped backwards and was kind of like, whoa, like I got so worked up. So I agree with Hunter here. And I'm not sure if he heard it, because, hey, a noticeable chunk of people skipped the intro, which is fine. But then, he would have missed me call myself out. But yeah, sometimes these conversations can get heated. Sometimes they get very passionate because we're talking about passionate and sometimes very personal topics. All right, this next one comes from a neighbor to the north. We're just going to call Hop. She wrote in, good podcast episode. I get touched out, so to speak, on a lot of the things she discussed. Maybe it's because of how I was raised or that I'm a punk kid, but how I looked was never a factor in how I valued myself. I knew magazines were bullshit, but I have weird body issues because of my brain. It's easier now, unless I'm too tired, then my body looks weird to me. Sorry you went through weird body things too. Happy Thursday. This next one, this is a comment or a couple of comments from Daniele. This comes from our Patreon-only Facebook group, The Champagne Room. Every week we do an episode comment thread on that week's show, and we had a very active comment thread for this, and these were a couple notes I pulled out from Daniele. I don't care to get on one side or the other of the argument you had because it's hard to argue about other people's perception. And you two were both mostly on the same page of what you're talking about. What I would say to you is that as the host of the podcast, when an argument like that is just getting so granular and you guys are losing at times what you're even disagreeing on, it would behoove you to move on to the next topic. It was a relief when she said, we'll just have to agree to disagree. And I really think as the host, you should be the one doing that before your episode spirals downwards. And then he continued talking about her bonus episode that came out the next day, again on Patreon. Blythe says any man who refuses to identify as a feminist is either A, acting on internalized misogyny, or B, being a little shit. To summarize, Billy's third option is that he's scared it's a label that will be used against him if he ever slips up, such as calling him a fake feminist, or people will say he's using feminism to get laid. Personally, I'm more on board with Billy. I have no problem identifying as feminist to people I'm talking to in real life, but I have also shied away from putting it online in, say, a dating profile. Because I've seen a lot of women post stuff along the lines of, any guy who announces they're a feminist probably isn't. Or they'll see a profile like mine that says poly and feminist and think I'm just listing things to get laid. Maybe, as Blythe suggests, it's something that we both should get over. And I thought that was an interesting thought. Lastly, the last email regarding my Blythe Robertson episode comes from Blythe Robertson, where I reached out after sending her like the initial, hey, your episode is up email. I said, also, one guy got really upset this morning, writing me a big email about the episode. One point that stood out that he said was, I clearly made you uncomfortable. I didn't pick up on that, but if you were uncomfortable during the chat, I'm sorry about that. You're great. And she responded, hey, thanks again for having me on. Yes, it was a little uncomfortable, but that's life when you have different views. You did a good job of listening when I pushed back on you. So, in case anyone was upset at me on her behalf, we good. This week's episode of the Man Whore Podcast is sponsored by Lola, a modern approach to feminine care. Yes, all right, we are talking about tampon subscriptions, people. I know a lot of my listeners have vulvas, but, look, dick-wielding dudes out there, I don't want you to feel left out of this ad read. A lot of women carry around condoms in their bag just in case, right? So dudes who dig pussy, why don't we keep some emergency tampons under the sink? Now I do with Lola. If your Tinder date has a uterus, they're going to need whatever Lola's got, so I'm told. And I'm keeping this box of Lola products just in case because, hey, Bushwick is all about all organic. Like all organic everything. Lola is a female-founded company offering a line of organic cotton tampons, pads, liners, and all-natural cleansing wipes. The founders asked themselves this brilliant question one day. If we care about the ingredients in the food we eat and the beauty products we use, why shouldn't the same be true of our feminine care products? Major brands out there, they use a mix of synthetic ingredients, including harsh chemicals. Yikes, ouch, don't want that down there. But Lola's products are 100% organic cotton. And Lola's subscription service will make your life so much easier. You can mix and match your delivery of products based on absorbency, number of boxes, and how often you want them delivered. Jesus Christ, having a pussy sounds so complicated. Luckily, Lola is there to make it simple and affordable. And you can feel good buying from Lola. For every purchase you make, they donate feminine care products to homeless shelters across the U.S. Dudes, ladies, NBs, whatever. No matter what you've got between your legs, you should have at least one box of Lola products in your bathroom. Again, fellas out there, when your date comes over and then she realizes, oh my God, I think I just got my period. You will look cool as fuck when you say, oh, I got you, and you return from the bathroom with like a nice little platter of options for her to choose from. Now, fan whores are going to get 40% off all subscriptions. Yeah, 40% off. I don't know how they're going to make money. But you get 40% off all subscriptions when you visit mylola.com and use promo code MANWHORE. Again, that's mylola, MYLOLA.com, promo code MANWHORE. Time for the fan whore appreciation moment, people. Okay. This is the part of the podcast where I like to give some shout outs to members of my fan whore community on Patreon. I wanted to give a thank you to, Feminista Jones. Oh, is that name familiar? Not only do you probably follow her on Twitter, but you've heard her right here on the Man Whore podcast, and she was killer. She's a member of the community. Shout out to Jed Fraser, the horny Aussie. His origin story is so funny because it was late one night. I was horny. I was tired. I was sad. And I just said, if you DM me a body part, I will send you a picture. And I got a DM from Jed that just said balls. So I sent him a picture of my balls. And I said, I tend to share a lot of that and more when in my little slutty kick group, the Peep Show, for my $10 and up Patreon members. Dude joined minutes later. He was like, I need more of Billy's balls in my life. And he's been getting more of Billy balls in his life and other people's balls and parts and all sorts of fun things. So shout out to Jed and thank you for your support. And a thank you to someone who just goes by the letter M. I like to think there's some sort of slutty secret agent out there who like also low key loves the podcast. Stay safe out there, taking down whatever kind of governments and assassinating people. I don't know. I'm glad that in between secret operations, you can enjoy my show. And you too can become a member of our community for as little as $2 per month. Yeah, no, it's $2 now. Look, I gave you warning. It was going to go up. You chose to wait and sleep on this. That's your fault. You can join this group of like-minded, sex-positive individuals at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Oi. So, hard left turn. Shay is on the show this week. It was a surprise, unexpected guest to have. When I find myself back in environments from which I have evolved, I often find myself reverting back into whatever role I played back then. If I'm with my family, I feel like a black sheep. When I am visiting my old boarding school and I'm surrounded by like my fellow alum, people I went to high school with, I fall back into this shy, I don't belong here role. I fall back into the, no, I'm not a cool person role. Similarly, with Shay sitting 12 inches from me, I fell back into this role of putting them on a pedestal, and I fell back into this argumentative and apologetic mindset. Obviously I push back during this conversation on some of the things that they say, but ultimately I tend to acquiesce. If not verbally, internally. This was the most difficult episode I've ever produced of this podcast. Okay. And I had to arrange a woman to blow 3 different strangers as they drove her 3 different legs of a journey from Philadelphia to Brooklyn. Okay. That was difficult. And this was much harder. I tried to go through this episode. I started listening to this episode 3 or 4 different times before I was able to actually sit through in one sitting. There were a lot of times I had to pause and stop and collect myself or go work out or text a friend or smoke a bowl or whatever. But I was disappointed in myself for falling back into that. I think there are times during this conversation I really could have stood up for myself better. I think there's other times I could have listened more. I felt embarrassment. I felt guilt, shame. There's a lot of negative things that come out about me in this. I'm embarrassed by, a particular night that we describe because, mental illness can be embarrassing. I know a lot of people are all advocates of stuff. I'm still learning what the fuck is wrong with my brain. So that, brings its whatever's with it. And I feel obviously guilt about that night, and I feel shame about how the relationship just went down in general. But during the conversation, I feel disappointed that I'm not getting a lot of emotion from them. I felt resentment that certain things were spun a certain way, in a way that maybe I don't feel was the most accurate. I felt resentment that I didn't get to bring up certain things I wanted to bring up. I felt anger listening to this, not during the recording, and not even after they walked out the door. Because after they walked out the door, I just felt sad and I felt emotionally drained. It wasn't until I was listening to this, I felt anger, and I found myself shouting out into the ether alone in my bedroom. Corrections, retorts, whatever. And I believe that anger is a secondary emotion, and I'm not even sure yet what the underlying emotion or emotions are there. That's scary for me. Very few people bring out the level of anger that Shay brought out at me. I genuinely think it's limited to Shay, Paige, my mom, my sisters. I don't know what that means. The women I've loved the most in my life. Y'all can go ahead and Freud it up. So instead of trying to spend time like correcting the record or bringing shit up or whatever, I just kind of wanted to share with y'all what I felt editing this one. Because it was really hard. And I hope you appreciate, what this show is. Because there are going to be times you're going to think, Billy, wow, what the fuck, dude? But have you not done something similar in your life? And have you not had the same happen to you? And does that maybe not show that we all do shitty things to people we love? And there's a lot of things I wish I could take back. My time with Shay, because sometimes I think, if this thing didn't happen here, maybe that goes a distance. My biggest fear with this episode, not the episode itself as much as the conversation, I was most scared that Shay was going to show up and I was going to say how much that relationship meant to me. And I was afraid, I was so terrified that they were going to try to shrug it off like, well, that relationship didn't mean that much to me. Try to play it cool because, they kind of have a jaded, snarky, arm's length personality at times. They did not do that, spoiler alert, but I was more terrified of Shay invalidating our relationship than I was afraid of them bringing up December 26th. I was more afraid of that than I was of whatever fucking responses I get to this episode. I was more afraid of that than fighting with them all over again. For better or for worse, this was one of the most significant relationships in my life. I've definitely learned a lot. And I hope in the next one I am better. It's the best I can do is try to be better. I really did love them. I'm just sorry. And I wish it could have been less traumatic for both of us. All right. This is the worst segue I've ever done into an ad read. Hotmovies.com, everybody. When you're sad and lonely and broken up, you want to jerk off and cry, right? I love hotmovies.com because I think it is, as you all know, both an ethical and affordable way to hashtag pay for your porn. It's a pay per minute porn site, so you just buy a bundle of minutes, and as you watch the porns, they deduct minutes from your time bank. You don't have to pay for each video. You don't have to rent them. You just want to watch 3 minutes of Polyamory Volume 2 starring Anna Fox? Do it. It'll only cost you 3 minutes. And that money, those minutes, those dollars, they go down to the studios, which allows those studios to pay their performers. And you can feel good about it instead of constantly going to Pornhub and jerking off in shame. And yes, there is a polyamory trilogy that will fit the theme of my Poly Ex. Polyamory, there's a trilogy where, they say in the description, polyamory is a growing lifestyle that is about the idea of multiple relationships. Because in these porns, all of the anal with different partners is about the love. Yeah, this is loving anal we're doing. You can get 20 extra minutes on top of any package you sign up for when you use promo code MANWHORE at hotmovies.com. And hey, if you want to try it for free, I don't blame you. They got a free trial that becomes a 40-minute free trial when you use my promo code. Again, that's hotmovies.com, code MANWHORE. Pay for your porn, pay for some of your porn, pay for something, because these people can't keep doing loving anal for free. And now let's get to this week's guest, Shay. We're going to say a few things.
Hi, my name is Shay. I am
close. Yeah.
Now 26 years old as of Friday. Happy birthday
Congrats.
to me. Yep, I survived another year around the sun.
It is an accomplishment.
It is. It is, definitely.
Yeah. So this will be the first time we've had like an actual sober conversation with each other in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sober. Are you sober?
I'm sober.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm shit on mic when I'm not sober, and I was like, I'm not going to start now.
No, right. Right.
with this one.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That would actually be kind of interesting, though.
It's
Just like a drunk Billy going at this one.
Yeah, it's like let's make Billy interrupt more and have less coherent points than I already do. But I was certainly, I mean, look, this is an episode I knew I'd one day reach out for. I did not realize it was going to be this soon.
Yeah.
That it would be happening. So
Yeah.
it was kind of serendipitous in a way.
Yeah. Serendipitous, is that the word you want?
No, but it's a word that sounded like it goes in there. That's how I tend to formulate most of my sentences. If I can't find the right one,
Yeah.
just
You
grab
grab
whatever comes
something.
by. Yeah, throw it in there. Hope someone doesn't catch it, but
Yeah.
clearly too smart for that.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's a good time to say I'm sitting down with Shay,
Yes.
my ex, from fairly recently, in my opinion, in terms of my personal timeline.
Yeah.
Because you are the last like serious partner I'd had.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't had a girlfriend since then.
Really?
No.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
You've
I
kind of.
stopped listening to your show. It was kind of like weird for me.
How long after did you keep listening?
Probably like 2 weeks, if I'm being completely honest.
That's fine. That's better than Paige, who I think kept listening for months.
Oh,
So-
well, yeah.
That's a lot better.
You mean P.
Well, I mean, she was named on the show ages ago. Like, it's kind of like that was a thing with you that I always that I explained. You know, that, and sometimes people will ask me, and I'll be like, well, there's at some point, if the relationship gets serious enough, there's like a podcast talk.
Yeah.
You remember that when
Yeah,
we had
yeah,
it?
I
It
remember
was like,
us having that.
yeah, what do you want out there?
Yeah.
Do you want your name out there? Pictures, no pic, like what?
Yeah.
What are we dealing with? And she says like, yeah, say my name. I said that's not a cat that ever goes back in the box.
Right.
So I tried. I don't get too hung up over it
Yeah, definitely.
these days. Wise decision on your part.
Yeah, wise decision. What wise decision?
I don't know. You were just like, yeah, I don't want to be named yet, and it almost like foreshadowing. It's like, let's see if I keep you around long enough for that to be relevant information for everyone.
I don't think that was the reason. I think it was more just that with my acting career,
Hmm.
I didn't want anything that could possibly be unsavory. But I mean, freaking now I run play parties like with Hacienda. So
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
heard you're about to throw. Is it your first one you're about to throw with them,
it's
or
technically our first one. We're doing it on 420, so it's going to be a nice, funny theme. We're going to see what happens with it, but we're trying to like right now secure like performers and stuff and DJs. It's a lot of work.
will you be better if I have like a mic stand so we can get you closer on it? It's a small mic stand, but something I just want to get you closer.
Sorry, no, I'll focus on it. I'll focus.
Okay, cool.
I should be better at this. Like, wow.
Yeah, I should also be better at this now, but I don't know. You're a different type of ex to me because obviously you were way more significant than like the average person I have on the show. And I was thinking about what I at least want to talk about, but I feel like, I mean, I don't want to say like talk about automatically equals grievances,
Yeah.
but I know my grievances mostly took place after the relationship was over, whereas a lot of yours were during.
Yeah.
But I don't know what was on your mind, when you knew you were going to come over to do this.
I don't know. I was trying to like flip through the memory book of everything that happened in the relationship. And it's honestly, this is like not to be mean or anything, but it's honestly hard to remember all of it because I tried to like black it all out of my mind. I'm like, that was all just really painful and like by the end and like really traumatic. Like, I don't want to like keep living in that. And then listen to the podcast for 2 more weeks and, self-sabotage. And my therapist said it would be better for me to like try to like focus on other things.
Sure.
And I think because of that, I buried a lot of the memories.
When you first go to listen in, like, are you listening in to see like, is he talking shit about me, or
Yeah.
like, is he really sad, or
No. I was like, he better not be saying anything that's like super, I don't know, like
inflammatory?
shitty about my
Yeah.
character, That's what I was most worried about, just because we did end on such bad terms.
Very bad terms.
Yeah.
You had to pick right
Probably
before.
like worst terms I've ever ended on.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we can get in that later because I know that's one thing. One of my big things was your timing because, I can't, that Super Bowl had high stakes for me because like I can't get dumped and watch Brady win a ring.
Right. I was drunk at a Super Bowl party with like 30 people and like
Wait, you were drunk when you broke up with me?
by the end of it, yeah.
Geez, I was stone cold sober.
At the beginning, very sober.
Okay.
By the end of it, I was like, I just kept drinking and kept drinking and kept drinking.
While we were on the phone?
While we were texting.
Okay, while we were texting. Oh, yeah, no, that's fair.
The texting afterwards, I was like, what?
Oh, at that point, I was completely blasted and made a fool of myself at the party.
Yeah, that's what I did too. I literally, to a group of 30 people that are all trying to like watch the game, I was like, did I tell you about my ex? Let me tell you about my ex because I'm really upset right now.
Yeah. But yeah, so you say you block. Do you typically block a lot of stuff out? Because I feel like even after the breakup, like our interactions at Hacienda, I remember kind of calling you out on something and you had no recollection. And then you were kind of like, oh no, I got into like, I had this happen and the med's different and this, and I'm so sorry if I said that thing.
Right.
Because I was like re-quoting back to you and you're like, I said that?
Well, I knew that I had talked to you that night, but I didn't know exactly what I had said.
Gotcha.
There was like a lot of things in my system and like, I knew I had like came over to you and like told you off. And I know that mostly, because I remember like that part of it.
Sure.
And also because like my partner came up to me and he was like, dude, that was much. And I was like, oh, okay. Oops. And like, so like other people thought I was like totally not in the right for that.
Okay.
Like people that like weren't even involved and like know the entire story. That's
good to know because I know I did put in a complaint, but of course later nothing happens to that because like you're the hot one and they're like, we're not gonna press on that. But and the only reason I did report it because I normally I would be like, that's not a thing to report, but I knew if I had done that to you, if I had gone up to you in the same way out of the blue and said the same things. Yeah, you told me
that during our joint truce. Or what did you call it?
Truce joint. Yeah, the
truce joint.
You came up to me and offered me a joint and then had no recollection of our last encounter. So I was like, I'm going to take this, but I'm going to try my hardest to be angry in this moment.
Right.
Because it's like, this is my one opportunity to be angry.
Right.
Which was at least that was one of my things. And I think my only grievance within the relationship was I never felt like I got to be angry. I was too busy being wrong to ever get to be like, no, I'm pissed at you for this, even though what you're calling me out for is valid. Here's my thing for you. I was so in love with you that I spent so much time just apologizing because I was so obsessed with like, no, I want this.
I didn't know you felt that way.
The I love you thing.
No,
I remember because I was like, I was pretty clear with that.
You gave me that on a card, like on like Christmas Eve or something.
Yeah, I used I thought was a really fun, cutesy thing for.
It was shocking for sure.
Yeah,
like that soon in a relationship. I just remember being like, whoa. And I think
that was your exact word choice was whoa.
Yeah, whoa.
I remember the look on your face.
Yeah. I think that like initially it actually like scared me to have somebody say that to me again just because of the relationship that I had with E previous to that. Mm. And I think I just like wasn't ready to take that.
He was the chick or the dude? I forgot.
The genderqueer person who's actually now a trans man.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
The one that dumped me for their primary and like
that
wanted to get married and doing the monogamous thing now. Just,
parsing out the X's and
Right. Yeah. There's a lot.
Sure, yeah.
I'm that type of poly that always has like 6 people overlapping.
Yeah.
So
that was a shock to you. You weren't expecting that.
Definitely not expecting that. It was I mean, of course it always feels good to have somebody say like I love you. Because you're like, "Oh, I'm special." But I think that it like just scared the living crap out of me at like that stage of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were even like, "Is it okay? I don't say it back." I was like, "Yeah, it's fine."
Yeah.
It was just a thing I knew was on my chest, and I knew if I kept that in long enough, it was just going to be a problem.
It's like going to come out while you were like shitting on the toilet or something.
Right. Yeah. It's like I'd rather. It's like let me just get this out. At least have some control over it before I blurt it out like in a fight.
Right.
I know I've done that before, where like. I think I said that to somebody once, like in an angry situation, and I didn't like that because, like, well, now my love is coming out as a weapon and not as a really wonderful gift.
I can see how that would be. Yeah, that would not be ideal.
Yeah,
but I can also see how it would like totally pop out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that way towards me?
No. Sorry.
You don't have to apologize. We're not in the moment now. It would have been more a thing then.
Right. I just wasn't ready. I wasn't capable of falling in love with somebody at that point. After we broke up, while we were dating, I had met while you were gone, that Cody guy.
Sure, yep.
And
guy who like in the span of a week became boyfriend.
Yeah.
And there was an I love you in there.
Right.
But I love Bum. I just want to just check. Okay.
No, he was absolutely like, it was one of those things where I was totally like in like one of those brainwashy type situations. And he actually turned out to be like a totally unethical person. But it took me 6 months to figure that out. But yeah, it was a really like strange week. But the thing is, he never told me like, you should break up with Billy. Like he was never like, he's not the type of person to like badmouth metas.
Yeah. It would also be really like shooting for the moon on that one when you've been with the person for days.
Right.
And to then also be like, give a relationship advice on a person he never met.
Right. No, but you should know that like he wasn't like influencing.
Never
that
once
decision.
thought that. Simply just was like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. He was interesting, but he had a lot of like great qualities. He had a lot of like not so great qualities.
Right. Well, what I want to not do is I didn't want to sit here and just like list grievances at you. And if nothing's coming to mind for you, I did like ask for, does anyone have questions for this
From other
particular
people.
one?
Right. Okay.
And I guess one of the ones that goes to the early times was Daniele asks what you saw in me, or how did you, because also the origin is like, I didn't hit on you in the slightest. I, in fact, was like, oh, this chick's totally gay. That was my read.
I
was like, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna just
right. At that
treat
time,
her like a person at the time.
Right. At that time, I identified as lesbian, and had been with only women for 2 years. And, we went to go see Professor Marston and the Wonder Women.
Fantastic film.
Yeah, it was really great. And I remember they did that scene where, and mind you, this is before any of like my diving into like the sex pos community. Only had like, you know, like wanderings about what that would be like. And there was a scene where they were wrapping the one girl up in rope.
Right.
And I remember I put my hand into the popcorn thing. This is so lame. And you put your hand into the popcorn thing, and like our hands touched, and like my uterus did things. And I was like, what the fuck? I can't do that with boys. And then I was like sitting there, and the entire rest of the movie, I was like, I'm very confused. I'm very, very confused. I think I just got like excited by a man. And I had no idea what it was. It was like we had a brief conversation before the film.
Yep.
And then I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that I had those feelings towards, like, had that excitement towards somebody. So that's why I reached out. And I mean, then we went and we got drinks, and then I got like blackout drunk, and then we fucked on the first date. So that's.
Yeah, it was a bit of you fucking me. I like to think. Were you blackout? Because that's big concern, because then there's no telling of when you're blackout.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I browned out. You know, like when that thing is like,
okay,
you don't know exactly what was said or anything, but you're like, oh, I remember like a bunch of weird images of like me fucking this person. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't tend to brown out or
Okay,
anything.
yeah.
I don't even really black out.
Well, at that
much.
stage of my life, I don't really drink anymore.
Okay.
But at that stage of my life, and for the following like 4 months following that, I was like drinking significantly, and yeah, wasn't really like a shining part of my character.
See, what stands out to me is like in that popcorn moment, like my thought was like, I really hope she doesn't think I'm trying to hit on her, because like obviously not into dudes. So I just hope that she doesn't think here's another poly guy trying to fuck me.
Yeah.
That's
so
all
funny.
went through my mind when our hands touched.
No, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you reached out. Actually, I was on my way to record with someone, Maya, if y'all listeners remember. And
I remember Maya.
yeah. And Maya, and like I left that recording like, oh, like let's try to date again. But I was so excited leaving your place and just like reviewing your Carfax because you sent me some Carfax.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was so good. That
Yeah,
was probably
it was
like
clever,
one of
it
my
was
best.
witty, it was funny,
Yeah.
and I really like a funny person.
Yeah.
And that's the turn on for me. So like, yes, I'm like, oh, I'm excited. Like maybe Maya and I, but really as soon as I left her apartment, it was like, okay, so what's up with this person here? Like,
Yeah.
And so I guess that was your initial attraction to me was some weird emotion, some internal thing you can't describe.
Yeah, definitely. It was just like this thing. And I think that I was also questioning my sexuality at the time because the person that I was dating when I started dating them was genderqueer. And by the end of it, they were like, I'm a trans man. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll switch pronouns again. Because I met him when
identified as a woman.
Identified as a
so
woman.
you've used all the pronouns.
All the pronouns
Yeah.
for this person. And I am like, dude, like, I'm trying here. And it's challenging.
You want challenging? Try constantly defending your ex's pronouns the day they dump you over the phone.
Yeah.
Because all day I'm angry, I'm wasted, I'm sad and crying, and everyone's like, "Oh, she dumped you." I was like, "They dumped me." But that's not important right now.
Well, you're defending it, but then you used it as content for your comedy.
Was it technically that's a joke I wrote during the first breakup. But also, it's not a joke that's at your expense. It's a joke at my expense. So
Okay.
I've never felt bad about writing that one. The only reason I took it down off a tour the first time was because we were going to meet and we might get back together. And that is a thing where like a very rare veto power that honestly my family members don't have that level of veto power with me.
Well, your family doesn't really have a lot of power with you. Like, you
Yeah,
don't really
but like
listen to anything they say.
but like I'm with them again. And like relationships are
yeah,
good.
that's great.
But I still like if they say take this joke down.
Yeah.
There is a higher bar that joke has to clear for that, or their argument has to be a higher level than yours, which simply like this hurt me and I'm in your life. And that's why, I took it. And then I was like, oh, once it was done, I'm like, well, that tweet's going right back up because that's a good joke.
Oh.
Yeah. And then actually recently I've been trying to write jokes about how I used to be so against the they, them pronouns.
Yeah.
And it's almost embarrassing how easy it was for me to switch them. And I was mad how easy. I wanted it to be difficult.
Yeah.
Because if it's difficult, at least it justifies the old opinion, kind of.
Right.
Where I'm like, it's the right thing to do, but it's fucking hard. But that it was so easy that I was like, now I'm embarrassed how easy it was and how much of a stink I put up.
No, you were actually a lot better than like a lot of the partners that I've had at using my correct pronouns and like correcting people. Like it's usually a lot more difficult for people. I mean, it was really traumatic, like the way in which you found out and like that entire evening. But that was still something that like I'm sorting through in therapy. But,
Yeah, that's when I'll probably get to therapy at some point. I am in therapy now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I found a group thing, which is a group therapy is really just like five.
that's great.
Yeah, I don't know. It's 5 dudes in a room just where you share something and then they all go like, dude, I don't know. That's most of what group therapy with men in their 20s is like.
Yeah,
But
I could see that.
But I am in that.
That's really great.
Yeah, actually,
I'm
right
proud of you.
after. Yeah, I tried. That was an Effie suggestion after the whole March debacle last year.
Debacle.
The whole page comment thread thing.
I have no idea.
Oh, really? Because you were like such a participant in it. About a year ago, there was a whole big like let's all shit page posted something on Facebook, and then everyone was like, "Fuck Billy." I got banned from 2 parties for no physical reason, and you
group?
jumped in. No, she just posted the Facebook that I was telling her friends and family that she's suicidal.
To be honest, like what I can tell you about what I remember
Sure.
with Paige is a little bit after the breakup.
With the final breakup or first breakup?
Final
We had
breakup.
3, and that's
Yeah.
that's also how how things with Paige ended.
Yeah.
It really takes a lot to hammer it
Yeah,
into me.
yeah. After the final breakup, a couple weeks later, I reached out to Paige because she came up in my suggested friends on Facebook, and I'm like, all right, well,
Well, you both fucked this guy.
yeah, right. I swear, Facebook just knows. But she came up in my suggested friends. I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, I know that this might not be something that you really want to hear, but I actually just had a breakup with Billy, like a couple weeks ago, maybe like a month ago. And like, I'm still trying to figure out like where my life is at. If there's any way that maybe we could just have like a phone call conversation, like.
You really thought that was going to be weird for her after her doing essentially not the exact same, but a similar thing for you? In fact, I mean, because like during the first breakup, she reached out and was like,
Right.
hey, so you're fighting with Billy and I'm the ex. And if you need, I don't know. I feel
Well,
like that would have been a
would've-
natural person to call.
Well, I thought that at that point that I guess she wouldn't really want to like divulge into it because like reaching out to me in the first place is hard enough. So I was just trying to be cautious of like, what are your boundaries, I guess. Does that make sense?
I mean, I know what you're trying to say, but I don't think that concept makes sense. Just in that it seems like she was so eager to divulge and help you through our short first breakup.
When we went to what's that place? Baked. You know what I'm talking about?
You two went to Baked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like some place like down near Walker Street.
Yeah.
And like we sat down and we talked. And I just kept telling her like all these things. And I was just like, I'm just really confused. Like, am I in the wrong here? Like, da 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 da. And I actually don't think that talking to Paige was necessarily actually helpful. And talking to Jackie was definitely not helpful.
Rarely.
No, she's a really nice girl, but
yeah, a little, cuckoo bananas, as she would say.
no, I don't think that she's cuckoo. Well, at least from my interaction with her, she didn't seem cuckoo bananas. I just think that like having somebody just say like all the negative things when you're like, I'm trying to get some sort of reinforcement that like this wasn't all just a giant shit show. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I guess that was like the entire thing of talking to them, I thought would like give me some sort of closure, but it just ended up opening up old wounds.
Yeah.
And yeah. But, it is what it is.
So what was the outcome of that? Of were you in the wrong? Were you in the right? I'm sure they were just
they were telling
you're fine. You're totally fine. 100%. You're in the clear. Yeah.
They were like, no, like, this is all like emotional manipulation. This is all gaslighting. This is all blah, 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 blah. And like, this is love bombing. And like, here, read these like 12 articles. And I don't know. By the end of it, I was just kind of like, I really maybe shouldn't have done that. And like, my therapist the next week was just like, I told you not to go over there. Like,
so you had been thinking about doing that for at least a week.
Yeah, a week. Well, I talked to my therapist on Tuesday, and then I was like, fuck that advice. And I went on Thursday.
Sure.
Sure. Because I'm not very good at therapy.
Yeah, we're trying. It's interesting. You were like, like, am I in the wrong or not was the question. And something we have been exploring in therapy in the group was the concept of like, stop trying to figure out if someone's right or wrong, because there is no one who's just right or like. We ask those questions so we know if we're good people or bad people, but none of us are good or bad people,
right?
And so we have to be comfortable being sometimes bad people,
right?
And that's something I know. Both my relationships with Paige, like the first, I think half of the relationship with Paige is something I have to own up to and think about, and parts of my relationship with you is where I go like, this is where I was not a great person, and then there's other parts where like I am like the best person, and that's like kind of how humans are made up of.
Yeah.
So I just find it interesting that you finding closure was finding out whether or not you were right or wrong, and by way of that, almost like, was I the good person or bad person in this relationship?
Right.
What do you think now?
I don't really know. I don't know what to make of any of it, honestly. I think that I had a lot of like emotional breaks, which I definitely like took out on you. Like at times, I had a lot of like arguments escalated with us really quickly.
Very quickly.
They went from 0 to 100 and like race car driver, like on the go. And I think that most of the escalation was on my part. So I think that I was wrong in that sense. But I also think that, like, honestly, and I don't mean this to sound like cruel or anything. But,
I told you, when you come here, be honest, be open.
Right. But like, you really didn't have a lot of like experience in actual relationships. Yeah. So a lot of the things that like I was arguing with you about, I was just like, how do you not get this? Like, this is not normal behavior. Like, people that like care about each other, like, don't act like this. And I also think that maybe like we weren't as communicative as we could have been about like the world of polyamory, and like we could have set our boundaries up more clearly. But that being said, I did have one rule, and that was tell me before you hook up with somebody.
I knew this was going to eventually come up.
Yeah. I told you, tell me before you hook up with somebody. Mm-hmm. And you tried to tell me that.
Who did I hook up with Who did I hook up with? That I didn't tell you.
The porn star at the AVN Awards.
Jay Taylor, I did not hook up with.
You fingered her.
I was on a microphone as she was explaining A spot versus G spot versus whatever spots and says, can I show you, while I'm surrounded by her boyfriend who gives a nod and 2 other people. And there's like,
no, I understand.
Yeah,
You've explained all this to me.
My hand was in her cunt. I did not finger her. My hand was just in there. And she's like, okay, now turn your hand down. And that's it. That's not a hookup.
Yeah. So I would argue that you had sexual contact with somebody, and that if it was me and I was in your shoes, I would say, hold on a second. I have commitments to somebody. I'm just going to test to see if this is okay, which I totally would have said, yeah, dude, that's rad. Like, sounds like a good content piece for your show. But the fact that you didn't have any consideration for how I might feel was extremely damaging.
I did tell you about all the other hookups that did or were being planned to happen, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Possible, maybe I don't see that as a hookup, and a lot of other people who I tried to clear that with be like, am I crazy here? Like, I don't know. But it's like,
But you
that wasn't a
also
hookup.
said to me afterwards, first of all, when you told me about it, you called it fingering. Second
Well,
of all,
yeah, my fingers are in there, but I'm not like hooking up with her.
Second of all,
okay,
you told me during that conversation that fingering isn't sex. And that's just like a weird thing to say to somebody who's bisexual.
Sure.
And third of all, you told me that it's not cheating if it's for your work.
That's not exactly how I phrased it. That is not a like me doing sexual contact. That was like if I was in the middle of like a workshop. I wouldn't if I was at like a burlesque show and someone like one of the performers comes up and like is looking for someone to just like rub her titties in their face, and someone did that to me, I wouldn't have texted you first to be like, hey, by the way, this is about to happen or anything like that, because I'm in the thing.
But you would have told me like, hey, I'm going to a burlesque show, and I would have been like, oh, okay.
You would have assumed that there'd be sexual contact from the burlesque show?
No, I would have assumed that like something could happen.
And you don't think the same where I'm like, I'm going to a porn convention for the week? Because I did tell you like when I fucked the different porns. I actually told you about the whole Jay Taylor thing while I was in a taxi ride on the way to a porn store. I did tell you about.
Right.
Where I was like, I'm sleeping over at Alexis's and we're probably going to be fucking. And
right.
But like I was also telling you about this that just happened because there was no real mechanism to. Again, it's not like she's like, hey, by the way, do you want like shoot a little porn with us upstairs? POV, like, hey, no one will see your face. That I would have hit you up for. Because that's like more of a hookup.
No, I totally understand that you've got your point of view on this. You're just never going to convince me that you didn't fucking break my heart. Like, you completely destroyed me because I thought I could trust you. And you had zero consideration for my feelings.
The last one I would disagree with because you can't tell me what I felt or what I consider or don't consider. Because your friend is actually one of the only people I do consider.
I'll go back to your need from me. I feel that you didn't have consideration for your feelings. Oh, for listeners, I was told by Billy that whenever we're having arguments, I am supposed to say, I feel, before I say, you're a shitty person.
Well, you do remember that.
Yeah.
All right.
I use that still.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's usually me being like a total cunt to people and saying, I feel that you are a total piece of shit piled underneath the earth. And I hope the worms eat you.
Is that what you're telling me right now?
No. Okay. That's like me saying an example of like...
You would only tell me that at a sex party. Okay.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we could clear the Jay Taylor thing up. Well, not clear it up, but at least air it.
Yeah. Well,
I remember that was one of the things, points of contention. I guess there was another question someone asked that kind of ties into that. Is interesting observation the like I didn't have experienced relationships because I had actually just finished like 2 years of dating Paige. Not that gives me the utmost experience, but it is an interesting context of like why does he understand this?
But having a relationship with one person gives you only one point of view.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you with this context. I never thought of it like, oh, I'm just inexperienced and dumb with dating. I threw that card a lot. I think I thought I had run out of that card with Paige. I would throw that out and be like, I'm a fucking idiot. What do I know?
Right.
I mean, I am professionally bad at dating, but I never really thought of why does he not get this thing that the standard is you do X, Y, or Z. And then I was like, oh, I always thought it was Q. And I don't know, I never thought about that. There was someone had asked, every relationship in life teaches you something. This comes from Sean. What did you learn from this one?
don't date dudes with podcasts.
Is that a serious one? Or is
No.
that like a fun
No,
tongue in cheek
that's just
thing?
me being a douche.
Because you do live in New York City, and it's hard to date someone who doesn't have a podcast.
Yeah, that is true. That is actually a true thing. What did I learn? I guess from our relationship, I learned a lot about like my boundaries and things that like I won't put up with. Because it was so inflammatory at times.
Agreed.
That I guess prior to our relationship, I really didn't stand up for myself. But with ours, I don't know if it was me being like always put on a pedestal and thinking that like I had the space to actually like stand up for myself, because I knew it wasn't somebody that like just really liked me or said they loved me, but it was somebody that like actually adored me. So I felt like I actually could be like, no, like this is how I feel. But I guess as shitty as I handled a lot of it, I think I grew in a lot of my, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
A little bit. You felt it was easier. You thought I put you on the pedestal, right?
Yeah.
What? Well, there you go. I mean, that makes perfect sense. If there's a power, if there's at least from your perception, of power imbalance. Yeah, you have the power, so it's easier to do this. I feel like maybe if I was playing harder to get, maybe you would have felt differently. Maybe you wouldn't have. Maybe you would have been like, who's this straight guy who's like making me feel things, but also like he's all affectionate and then he's cold and this and maybe it would have been different because maybe I would have had the power or whatever there. But you definitely were in the power position the whole time, because I think that's definitely something I do or have done with people I am crazy into, is I put on the pedestal and I want this to stay. I want to figure out a way to make this last longer. Maybe it's something I picked it up from my dad. Don't know. Haven't explored that yet.
I don't really know if you got that from your dad.
Well, I mean, he did, it did take my parents 5 times over the course of 8 years to fully get divorced.
Yeah, you did tell me that.
Because that guy, I mean, my dad, Jesus, like, I think by separation number 3 or 4, my sisters and I were like, dude, this is over. Like, let it. But yeah, I definitely do that and that's why I would try to stand up for myself at times. I would even like be like, tonight I'm going to tell Shay this because you were angry too, and you being angry was more important to me than me being angry. Making you feel better always took precedence to me over making myself feel better. Because that's what I do with someone who I'm like fucking goo goo gaga over.
Right.
There haven't been many women like that in my life. You're part of a small handful.
I guess I'm like I can totally recognize this fault in me, but like I'm really, really selfish. And like when it comes to relationships, and like I don't think that like my therapist would agree, and I don't think like my mom would agree, but I really do like put myself in the position of like, no, I need to get it my way, because there's nothing scarier to me because of like the whole relationship, like the asshole guy.
Yeah, that's one where when you told me I was your most, I don't know if you used the word traumatizing relationship or the worst relationship or anything like that.
Traumatizing breakup.
Okay. Well, not just now. I mean, like back when it had, like during the call, you called me either like your worst relationship ever, or you used some sort of negative word where I was the most of it. And I was like, guy put a fucking gun in your mouth. Like, what the fuck? Like that was one of the things I think I was angriest about, even after my initial anger of the breakup.
You say things when you're angry that you don't actually mean, like when you're going through a breakup, you just let out anything and everything.
Yeah, you hurt people. But I think that was one thing that stuck with me, where I, up until still right now, was not sure if that's something you truly believed. No. I think I leaned towards, I think they really think I was the worst one. And if they truly think that, they're fucking crazy. That was my thought. And that's been my thought for the better part, for over a year, was like, There's no fucking way I'm worse than that guy.
Right.
And I get that it could have just been that, but I don't know why. I just believed that that's what you believed.
Well, yeah, because when somebody says something damaging to you, you're going to take it and internalize it.
Did I say anything like that to you that sticks with?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. I mean, everybody calls me crazy. So, like, you calling me crazy kind of just, like, bounced off me. I was like, oh, well, I probably am. So, and then I found out that I actually am.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah.
Fun times.
That's a really fun development in, like, the therapy world. But now I'm on meds, so less crazy.
And you were, when we started running into each other at the Hacienda, were you, I guess you were on like a different medication. When you came up to apologize to me in a way, like you were all like the first go-to thing you said was like, oh, and I've had some medication changes, and which is one of the reasons why I was instantly like, I'm not going to stay angry. Like, this is an apology, take a win.
Okay,
But
so like
that
the
stood out to me.
absolute transparency for this, and I can't believe I'm going to actually say this on a fucking podcast, but the absolute transparency of it is I was put on depression medication.
Okay.
Because my therapist and psychiatrist thought like, oh, well, you've been really depressed for like 2-3 weeks. Like, maybe we should do something about that. Why don't we try putting you on this? And then they increased my dose. Like over like the course of a week, they were like, use this much, then the next day, use this much. And by the end of that, I started having these really, really crazy up and down mood swings. Like where one day I was literally staying up until like 4:00 in the morning, sleeping for like 2 hours, going to work the next day, not tired at all. And then the 2 days after that, I'm like so incredibly exhausted, feel like I can't get out of bed, like crying over nothing, like suicidal thoughts and like absolutely batty cuckoo stuff. And like, went to my therapist, went to my psychiatrist about it. And they told me that that is actually how they diagnose people a lot of times who have bipolar disorder. Mm-hmm. So from there, they were like, okay, it seems to us that you may have bipolar disorder. We're going to start you on new medications that are going to try to give you like an equilibrium. We're going to put you on like an antipsychotic and I can't think of the other word right now, but another one. And during the up and down and up and down and up and down, that's when I went to that play party. Okay. And so I was like not in a frame of mind. And that's not an excuse. Like I'm never trying to use like my mental illness as a like, and like I think about that sometimes too with past relationships. Like had I been on the right medication, like how would other relationships have worked out?
How do you think ours would have worked out?
Well, I think it would have been a lot less inflammatory and explosive.
But if ours was less inflammatory and explosive, do you think that relationship stretches longer or lasts?
I think it maybe would have stretched longer, but I actually don't think that we had the baseline compatibility to work long term. I think that like from the arguments and everything, I can say with almost absolute confidence that like it wouldn't have worked long term for me. Like I saw at the end of December, right after Christmas, that I was this is never going to last.
But if the relationship was less inflammatory, that situation never happens. The talks on the phone about the Jay Taylor stuff, that never happens in the same way. And that's why I get curious about. Yeah. What were some of the baseline incompatibilities, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
When I told you that I was genderqueer,
texted you. There's a lot of context to the text.
Right. When I texted you that I was genderqueer, the fact that I was met with like nothing but opposition and the entire argument turned into something about you and how like I was going through like a huge coming out, and instead of being supportive or trying to be like, I want to understand this, you turned it into a giant affront on yourself.
I've not defended my actions of the night.
No.
But I've never liked the way you've told that story. There's another story also, and we'll get into it later, but it's like, I also feel like I know a lot about gaslighting because you sent me a lot of articles about gaslighting. Right. So I definitely know about it.
Right.
But it was like, you know, you just say like, oh, I texted you that I was genderqueer. It's like, that's not really what it was. It was like, you casually made, like in passing, reference it as if I already knew via text when you're out at night partying and I know I can't call you and I know you're doing drugs. It's not a time to get mad at you. You know, there's a lot to it.
I actually have like all of those text messages.
Sure do. I don't delete anything.
Saved into a PDF on my phone. That I like printed and gave to like my therapist. And I'm like, I know this is a long read, but I need you to read it before next week. And when I came out to you, I was actually like in an excited form telling you, you won't believe this. This really exciting thing happened with me and I was actually elated. And I was hoping to be met with something similar. But instead, I was met with a door being shut in my face.
Something happened. Something clicked to me that night that scared the shit out of me because that doesn't happen. That was a scary night. I was actually thinking of the night when you just brought up not want to use mental illness as like an excuse for things rather as an explanation or whatever.
Right.
Because that's initially when in the context of us, that's what my mind goes to if I think mental illness. Because I don't know what that was. It was not like it wasn't rational because even when I remembered it one way, when I went the next day to the
And
text,
looked at it. Yeah,
because the first thing I went to Katie, like the DMs with Katie was like, oh, that doesn't go the way I thought it was in the moment last night. And then later I went and reread all the texts and I was like, ooh, that also did not go in the order of events I thought it did.
Yeah.
And I was up till 5, 6 a.m. I mean, look, I've never wanted to kill myself. I've never thought I was going to kill myself.
Right.
But if there was a night I was going to, it was that night.
Right.
Because I had to call a friend and be like, I just need to be on the phone so I can't do other things.
Right.
And I called the one person in California who gave a shit enough that would maybe be awake. Thank God she was. I genuinely don't know what happens if I go to bed without being on the phone with someone that night. It was a scary fucking night for me. I understand it was super scary, not fun for you. But that night, yeah, that was a fucked up night.
Really fucked up.
And I don't know what that was. It was scary as fuck. That was the only night where I wasn't sure if I'd wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
It was scary.
No, I know that fear. I mean, it's the entire night set me up for, to this day, being absolutely terrified of telling people that I'm genderqueer. Like the very first day that I come out about it, having that explosive shit show.
Could we just not phrase it as a coming out? Because it wasn't quite a coming out to me. Because you told me that you said, oh, I thought you already knew.
Well, I mean, like I
thought
talked to you about like
boyness and girlness,
Yeah.
right? And it was never like a coming out. So let's just not phrase it as like, Billy, when I came out to you as genderqueer, because that's not that's not really what happened. It's fine. I understand like what you're trying to say, but can we just not phrase it that way? Because it's
No,
to
I
make it sound like
wholeheartedly disagree because I said in the text messages, no, I am genderqueer, which is a coming out.
well, yeah, that's not
Like,
yeah,
by
that's
definition.
afterwards. Because I'm like, I think my initial response something like, what do you
Yeah,
mean?
you were like, I'm confused.
Right. So, and then later in it, you say like, I thought you knew this. Like, I remember very explicitly
Yes.
there was that. So I mean, I know it sounds like I'm arguing semantics, but I don't feel comfortable when you said like, when I came out to you as genderqueer this, because it wasn't quite how that went down.
No, I wholeheartedly disagree.
Okay.
Because when somebody says to you, yes, I am genderqueer, and then
That one is
wait,
the
stop
coming out,
interrupting
right,
me.
okay.
Stop interrupting me. So when I'm saying to you, yes, I am coming out to you, I thought that you would understand. That was me saying, I thought this would be easy to tell you.
Right.
Because I thought you already figured as much. Like you talk to people all the time on your podcast that are of like alternative genders and like somewhere on the gender spectrum. Like I thought that you would be the safest person that I could talk to about it.
Right.
And I couldn't have been more wrong.
You were right, just not in that moment and the way in which it happened in my confusion, then whatever snapped.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like if you had just like told me in really almost any other context, it would have been a big old like, awesome, this is great, which night, what are we, it was just the way in which it all went down. But I've never defended the events of the night, but the origin I always felt like was not always the most accurately
Right.
shared. But that was a rough
there's
night.
two
But that was all
sides-
that night.
There's two sides to every story.
Sure.
My experience and his experience, especially, are semi-aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like, you're totally entitled to your view of the situation, but it's not going to change the fact that, like, that was traumatic for me.
Yeah. The fact that we got back together led to a month of not goodness.
Yeah.
Because really the relationship should have just stayed ended.
Yeah.
I think that was the night. If there's a night that it's going to. I
No,
think
it
that's-
definitely should have stayed ended then. Like, I honestly don't even remember what happened over the course. I think it was like a week.
Yeah, several days, about a week, whatever it was like right before New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I
mean, this all went down December 26th, and then
right, because that was
we were
the
back
day after, or 2
Well, it was
days
just the
after
day after.
dad died that you called her a cunt, and you knew that.
I'm still gonna remind you that I did not know in that moment, as I forget information about fucking anyone and everyone until things are repeated to me. So I did not call her that. By the way, it's also in the context of that snap, not an excuse, but an explanation. I didn't just randomly call your friend a cunt, but I did not know that.
Well, you did know that, but you didn't know it in the moment.
That fine. I acquiesce to that phrasing. Yeah, it was I remember just being because the day after Christmas, but that is another way to remember it.
Yeah.
But we were back together by New Year's Eve, but we didn't spend New Year's Eve together. That's just in terms of timeline. It was like under a week. It was several days.
Yeah.
I remember just being sad, and then we met up at Argo. In between, there was the whole Paige connection, which was like wholly uncomfortable.
Right.
But then no, we sat in Argo for that was part of like why I anticipated being like, I don't know what the right time length for this talk is. I just remember Argo Coffee was like a 3-4 hour talk.
Right.
And I think I still have that letter.
Right.
And again, that was another especially then I think because I realized how wrong I was in the night, how wrong I was about that night, I spent the next month on an apology tour essentially. Anytime there was a thing, I think whenever I decided to stop fighting and realize I might be a little wrong, it did not become in my head, I'm a little wrong. Let's figure out how we're both wrong. It was like, I'm wrong and I am wrong and I'm going to do everything I can to make it up to this person because holy shit, I'm so wrong. Which again was like,
I can see how you would I
was overcorrecting after that night for how bad it was and how bad I was.
Right.
It was just always an overcorrection for me, which I don't think ever let me really be back in that relationship.
Right.
Because I always felt like I'm groveling.
Right.
What's going on for you for that month of time afterwards? Why? I think the easy question is why are you back together with me after that?
I think I was trying to settle back into it because I think I just still wanted to be in a relationship. I wanted to still have somebody in my life. And I thought I have it in me to make things work. I can work through things with this person. And I really thought that that was possible, but it was I felt like I was convincing myself every day that I'm in this. But I think in the back of my mind, I knew that there was
irreparable harm.
Yes. Thank you.
What's it like hearing someone tell you that they love you without feeling the same? I genuinely ask because I haven't been in the position.
Yeah, I actually had never been in that position before either. But I honestly, to be completely frank with you, I honestly felt guilty almost every time that I heard you say I love you. I felt like I wasn't able to give enough. I wasn't able to be enough for this relationship, and I shouldn't be in it because I can't give him what he needs. Even though you told me time and time and time again, you don't have to say it back. I don't need you to say it back. I still felt guilty all the time.
A sense of selfishness, emotional selfishness.
Yeah,
because that's what I think you are. When you were talking before about oh, I'm, I know I'm selfish, or there's part of me that's selfish, but people who know me wouldn't think that. That's because surface level, you are not a selfish person. I described a fucking painting that I saw in Amsterdam once years ago, and then you're you tried to make it your mission to find it, and then you when you couldn't find it, you took the Facebook photo that I had of it,
right?
And
then
you
I warped it on Photoshop.
Yeah, you warped it and you tried to get it on a canvas so I could have the painting that I told you it's the only painting I've ever wanted in my life,
right?
To physically own. You were I'm gonna try to find it. If I can't find it, I'm gonna recreate it.
Yeah.
You are not a selfish person.
No, I can be.
But emotionally selfish. But yeah. I don't think you're in terms of two people in a thing, two people, I don't know, want a piece of bread. I feel like you're not the person who takes the last piece without seeing if anyone else wants it.
Right.
But emotionally selfish, I mean, I'm not going to try to pretend I know whether or not, but I think that's more what you describe yourself as. But I would always disagree if you wanted to try to call yourself a categorically selfish person. I agree with your mother. Like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
How you handle yourself emotionally in relationships, that's between you and your therapist. But,
Right.
I just hope you don't genuinely think yourself as selfish.
No, I think I have selfish tendencies, and I think a lot of that comes from the relationship.
Sure.
I think that
As a defense?
yeah, like I put a wall up because I'm like, if I am not emotionally selfish, this person like might beat me. This person might lock me in a room. This person might put a gun in my mouth. This person might do all these awful things to me. And it's just like this weird knee-jerk, fucked up response because of that. And I mean, I don't know, maybe I've worked through it more, but I don't really know.
The ex-girlfriend in college, and I'm asking this question not to sandbag you. I promise,
Okay,
and you can throw back whatever shitty things I've done if you want in response. But the ex-girlfriend you had in college,
Virginia.
was that
Virginia.
Okay. Was that before or after?
It was during.
Oh, it was during? Okay. So you had a person who committed like physical trauma on you.
Mm-hmm.
You also have someone like you've done that too. Like
no, you're talking about Sammy.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I have a lot of names to write down. Yeah. So was that one before or after him?
After.
And what goes like, so do you want to explain? I don't want to sit here and be like, you fucking hate your girl. But like, do you want to say that on your own terms, or?
It's probably not something that I'm willing to discuss because it is like the black mark of like my entire dating life.
Sure. But as someone who's had similar black marks done onto you,
Mm-hmm.
I promise not to sandbag, to be like, look
Right.
what they did. It really is like to show like you've been on both sides of that coin,
Right.
especially when you did it afterwards.
Right.
And we're talking about being emotionally selfish and surface level selfish. I don't know.
Right.
It's a story that came
No,
up in my
I
head.
don't have any excuse for my actions that night. I literally like there's nothing that I can say. It's just inexcusable.
How do you think about yourself like in the days and months or whatever afterwards within all that context?
Oh, I absolutely hated myself. I thought I was worse than I thought like I purposely like didn't enter into any relationships like because I thought I wasn't good for people. I thought if I can't handle myself or like keep control of my anger, I shouldn't be with anybody.
Both as a defense mechanism, you don't want to get too close to people because they might emotionally or physically hurt you. At the same time, you seem to think like, well, I'm a piece of shit because I did this thing one night, so I don't deserve everyone there. I deserve no one. And yet you became someone who dates a little bit of everyone.
Well, I didn't date anybody at that point for like
Sure.
quite a long time. Like at all. It was also because I was like, well, if I date somebody, they're gonna like cheat on me with my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of reasons why I didn't date at all after that.
I wonder if I have less defenses because of not having.
Relationships, like aside from me and Paige.
Yeah, I mean, I've had other things that were serious, but didn't get to a certain level. I wonder if it's still not on the wall. I had other things where like I felt very intensely towards women and then they didn't return it back, but I was never the boyfriend, which is like the reason this show exists.
Right.
So the most defensive I would get was just be like conscientious, or conscious of like whatever I'm in, but I never got any of these like, I didn't really get a lot of baggage stuff until after Paige, because
Yeah.
it was the only relationship, and you had a lot of relationship experience,
Too many.
which came with a lot of baggage, but also probably a good bit of knowledge, I would hope. I mean, granted, like you were like relatively young when I met you,
Right.
and you didn't act it, which is one of the reasons I was so into it, because it was
Right.
like, oh god, this is a person of this age, and it totally doesn't act like it, and driven and motivated and all that stuff.
My therapist calls it being a parental child. It's a term she coined. Like when you're like a trauma llama of a person.
Sure.
And like, you know, you go through having to like, you know, like parenting my sister when I was 15, like when my mom was sick, and like going through like different like relationship traumas and like losing people to like drugs and like things like that. You just like grow up a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And I guess like it made me grow a thick skin, but it also made me miss out on a lot because I never really like got to do the whole like letting go and being like 21, 22.
When did you finally feel like over the breakup?
I'm not. Like, I still like randomly get upset about like different parts of it. Like I talk to my primary partner now about like different parts of it. He actually sent me a text message before I came here and he was like, do you want me to come over and bring you pie later? Are you going to need aftercare? And I'm like, I won't need aftercare. Like, you're a fucking douche, but like.
The person I've been seeing right now did the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Was like, do you want to come over? Do you want me to come over? Can I help? Can you text me after?
Right.
Which is nice to know there's people who care.
Yeah.
And give a shit, but.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm super, super lucky to have him. Like, super, super lucky. Like, had it not been for you.
You also did say the same thing about whatever the guy
Cody?
was.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, I mean, no, Ross is like a different type of person. Like, my partner's like a very different person. Like, the way that we poly is like literally like identical. And I've never been in a relationship with somebody where like we don't fight. We've been together almost 8 months, and like when we have a problem and things start escalating, we just go, whoa, hold on. Let's slow down. What are we actually arguing about? And it's insanely good. We're moving in together in July. It's very exciting. Yeah. And we're co-partnering the new playscapes at Hacienda, which is super, super exciting. And like, it's just functional. Like, I don't know. I shouldn't jinx it or anything, but like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you don't want. Let me tell you from personal experience, and it's happened a lot.
Yeah, I should like
careful to get things like recorded on a podcast that doesn't come out tomorrow, and then weeks or months later, like a thing can be out. This comes out next week, but like if it comes out like 3-6 months, I have some episodes where it takes 3 months to come out, and then it finally comes out. I was like, oh boy, we say the talk about my girlfriend a lot, and there is not one, so we should address that.
Right.
I think for like 4 or 5 months after our breakup, I had to like, if it was an AVN episode, because like those ones,
you had to like preface it.
Yeah, I'll do like about, there might be like, last year I did 9 and they came out over the span of like 6 months.
Yeah.
So it might be 4 or 5 months later, I'm actually feeling healed, but like I'm listening to a record, I'm like, oh fuck, we talked about Shay again. Oops. And so I got like clarified, like, hey, we talked about ex-girlfriend, and just like heads up, that's if you forgot is over.
Yeah.
So just
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
You don't want to hear this like 2 months from now.
Right.
But may it go wonderfully well.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, what do you have any questions for me regarding like the relationship before, during, after? To say you're still not over something, it seems like there's things there could be closure on. And this is a very unique opportunity.
No, definitely. I don't think it's like that I have questions. It's that just I have still things that like I'm just still like hurting over. Like I said, like I have a really hard time coming out to people about being genderqueer. I talk about it a lot in my script, like with the genderqueer character. And like, I just can't fully, sometimes I can't fully feel open in myself because of that. And then there's also things of like getting into arguments with people and being like, oh my God, am I just like being crazy? Because like by the end of it, that was like the thing that like you would say to me the most is that like you're being crazy. And like that stuck with me for a very long time. I don't know. I really don't. I really don't have anything that like I've been like aching to ask.
But yeah, it still sits with you.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, but I think almost all my relationships do. I'm sure stuff from Paige still sits with you, and I'm sure stuff from me still sits with you. Like, I am definitely not over E. I'm definitely not over Sammy. I'm definitely not over Cody. I guess I don't really believe that you actually like can ever really fully walk away from relationships. Like, I kind of think that when you're with somebody and you have such an intense emotional bond, those things just inform you for the rest of your life. They never really go away.
So there was an intense emotional bond.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it was ever love, but there was like a very intense emotional bond. I wouldn't have gotten back together with you 3 times. Well, two times with 3 different, thingies.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have done that if there wasn't an intense emotional bond. And like, it was an exciting time for me because I was, for the first time ever, being introduced to like the sex positive community. And like, I went to a makeout party and like, then I went to a sex party. I'm like, whoa, like everything is crazy and like so cool. And like, oh my gosh, I was spanked and I really liked it. And like, that was all eye opening to me. And now I'm like,
you're just knee deep in it.
Yeah. We did the math, my partner and we average at 4 sex parties a month at this point.
Yeah, I've always just said that's just for me. That's exhausting and expensive. But I tried doing 2 in one night once with Paige, and I was just like, we instantly realized like, no, let's not do that again. Space them out.
Right. Well, a lot of the parties that we go to, we either volunteer, so that makes it not expensive, or we go to parties like like at people's like places or like the hotel parties that you have a friend hosting or something like that, and those are always free. So yeah. So that makes it easier. I'm like, when you get into the sex positive community, you think like, oh, there's only Wonderland, there's only like Hacienda,
there's
there's
all
only
sorts
like
of stuff,
SFW. But then you realize like once you actually get into it, and you're like, holy shit, I have like 150 friends. Like, what is this? Like, my life has exploded. Mm-hmm. And then everybody's like, oh, well, this person's having a play party. This person's having a play party. So it makes it like super, super easy.
The first Renee, I think what they call them, the Renaissance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that first party,
the school thing, the back to school.
Yeah. School's out is, or back to school, which was, I always thought was a terrible theme. Cause like, great. Let's remind myself of a time when no one wanted to fuck me. Yeah. That's a great theme.
Okay.
Was there any nervousness about like, am I going to be there?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And what you didn't think to be like, Billy, I'm going to this. Are you going to it?
No, I didn't want to at all.
I really wanted to, and I was told not to.
No, that's exactly what happened to me. So I was with my triad at the time.
Right.
And, which by the way, we had the cutest outfits there. Do you remember?
Yes, I remember. It
was like,
totally was part of the reason why I was extra uncomfortable. Great.
Why?
Shay's here and looking hot and with hot people.
Oh no.
And
it was like truly
if
incredible.
I had gone alone, I would have been a fucking wreck. I'm so glad I was with someone there who understood the gravity of that to me.
Yeah.
And was like afterwards in the course of a Lyft ride able to really bring me back. Even if what happened that night like hadn't happened, I still was a wreck most of the night just because I was so like, fuck Shay. We spent most of the time in Eric's room because like I didn't want to be out.
Yeah.
Like I was so thrilled when we got invited upstairs because like, cool, I don't have to go and be around. Because especially for me, it's like I always had seen that as like not that one person owns a space and this happens for breakups all the time, especially like in this scene.
Right.
But like that was really that was my one space, especially at that point because I had 2 parties that banned me for really no good reason.
Right.
Just because.
What were you banned from?
That whole thing in March, that big comment thread.
Which ones?
House of Scorpio and NSFW.
Oh, well, that's not a loss.
Right. But that was one place that, like I knew I was welcome at and I felt good at. And then there was the NSFW. Daniel was like, look, my hands are tied because, I have my theory of exactly who, but like someone's telling me like, I really like, she's making this a out thing. So I got banned for 2 communities in a day that like I had no
Well, you're not like that kinky, so NSFW isn't like a huge,
And it's something
huge loss.
it's a huge loss. Play party.
Well,
it's
no,
a fun party.
I'm sorry. I'm just like
Yeah,
trying
please
to like,
don't downplay that.
No, I'm trying to like make it not as terrible.
No,
for
it was
you.
it was just
I don't know.
yeah, it's okay. But yeah, just no seeing you there and like seeing you happy. You know, that it was a rough night for me. It was even if we hadn't interacted at all, it was going to be a fucking rough night. So yes, you had very cute outfits, and it was one of the many things that made me go like, okay, this is going to be a night.
Yeah.
If you had showed up looking like shit, maybe like, you know, maybe you got ugly or something, that could have been cool. If you had a dumb haircut I could make fun of in my head, that would have been helpful.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, none of the haircuts, even when you want to do like Andy Warhol, it's like, no, it looks great.
Yeah. Rocking the Andy Warhol now.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. No, before I went to that party, I was with my triad, and they were both just like, he's not going to be there. I'm like, he's totally going to be there.
Yeah, I go to every single one.
Right. I was like, what? He's totally going to be there. And they were like, I don't know. They were like, don't text him. Like, just go. It doesn't matter if he's there. You're with us. And they just the entire night did a great job of anytime they saw me like getting distracted, like mentally distracted, they would like pull me back out of it and pull me back out of it.
So you had the same thing that night too?
I was distracted. Yeah. I would definitely say I was distracted. And it was also the first play party that I went to with my triad. So that was like really, really difficult for us, like as like a throuple, like that we felt like that night was like almost tainted a little bit by that.
Like there's a dark cloud hanging over it.
Right, exactly.
Because that's how I felt too.
Right.
And I was with someone, I mean, that was her first play party, but it was someone who was like relatively new. Like we've been fucking, we weren't even dating. It was like we'd been fucking for like a month or so. And I had to drop heavy shit on her just because it was like, I need you to know why, like if I, for some reason can't get hard tonight, like this is probably why.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So I know it's not great, but like I feel I don't want to say I feel good. I'll change it to like I feel comforted that you felt a similar distraction that night too.
Right.
And I wasn't the only one. I think I was telling people at therapy, I just was like, I kind of was like, hey, I have this like interview on Monday and I'm nervous that I'm not super, like that's not consuming me.
Right.
Like I was nervous, but I wasn't like consumed every day, like, oh fuck. And I was nervous about that. And I think what I realized yesterday was like, I'm nervous. I'm going to sit down and we're going to talk about stuff and you're going to downplay what the relationship meant to you. And I think that's what I was most scared of because then that was something that was important to me. And the power move on your end could very easily be whatever, bro. It was 3 months. It wasn't that big a deal to me. And I think that's what I was most scared of.
Well, 3 months is a significant amount of time. 3 months is when I knew that, like, I fell in love with my partner. Like, there's a lot that can happen.
For some people, 3 months is nothing. 3 months is like, 7, 8 dates for some people, 10 dates for some people.
Right.
And I didn't know what attitude you were going to come in with, and I think that was my biggest fear.
But it was 3 months of like spending almost every day together.
Yeah, it was for me, it was a very. Like just because I've had relationships that weren't boyfriend girlfriend that lasted longer and were serious to me, but those 3 months were like a very powerful 3 months for me. I have not loved someone like that since, and it's a heavy one. So I think that was my biggest fear kind of coming into tonight. Yeah, I was more scared of that than fighting with you. I was more scared of that than talking about December 26th. I was more scared of that than talking about Paige stuff.
Yeah.
I think that was my biggest fear.
Yeah, I don't really know what my biggest fear was coming in. I think something else that I learned from the relationship, just jumping back to that because scatterbrained, is like I really like learned my definition of poly from our relationship because I don't know if you remember this, but when we went to the makeout party at House of Gemini and Scorpio, which by the way, I went to another one too, and like it's such garbage.
I mean, it's a garbage place, but I like that there's a makeout party. I like that I had the option to go. Yeah. I don't like that they have a doorman who sometimes forces people to make out to prove that they're cool enough to be there. Yeah, but that's a whole different
thing. Sal guy, yeah.
You were saying, weird. But we were there that night, and what?
We were there that night, and I remember we got into a huge argument after that because like you were uncomfortable with like
remember a fight after that party, so
No,
I'm gonna have to
like-
default to you.
No,
So
there was
please
like a
be
big
fair.
No, there was like a big fight because like you told me that at one point, like I don't know if you remember this, but we were playing spin the bottle, and at one point like I jumped up on somebody and I like wrapped my legs around them and like was like making out with them or whatever. And
There was a couple, right?
yeah.
There was a couple, and they were not really at all interested in me, but they were with you.
Yeah, that happened.
Did we
too.
get into a fight, or did I just express discomfort? Like, hey, I'm not angry, but I'm feeling this thing, and here's why.
No, we got into a fight. Like we
Okay.
yelled at each other.
Okay.
As we do. Sure. And I just remember feeling like entirely like slut shamed that night. And like from that moment on in the relationship, I was actually like, I felt like unable to even like date outside of us because I felt like it made you so uncomfortable to see me even making out with somebody else. And I mean, we dated Kate sort of, but
I mean, we fucked Kate. I don't know if we dated. I mean, you two maybe did your dating,
we
but like,
kind of like
we fucked Kate, what, a couple times?
like a handful or so times. But I mean, like Kate and I also like went on a couple of dates like while you and I were dating.
Right, I remember that.
So, and she's a really sweet girl. I don't really see her anymore, but like she's a sweet girl. I
Yeah.
have no problems with her. But like aside from that, like I really didn't date anybody else. And it wasn't until you were in
Vegas.
that I was like, why aren't I dating? I'm poly. And I was just like, well, Billy's not here. So I'm going to put myself back on dating apps.
I mean, I know I'm not going to say that whatever happened the night of lip service didn't happen. So, but outside of that, like I know I didn't have issues with, like I know I had asked things and had been like, oh, you seeing people's hooking up. I mean, I know I didn't like overall over the course of a relationship. I'm pretty confident saying I didn't like take issues plural with.
No.
Yeah.
But it was like something that was like at the beginning of the relationship that was like an initial, well, halfway through the relationship, that was like this initial like twinge of uncomfort. And from there on, I was kind of like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't because it's going to make Billy jealous. Which was like a weird way to poly for me, where it was like, I felt like I would only date or like hook up with people in conjunction with you, if that makes sense.
Or like at the same thing or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It felt a little bit more like monogamish because of that. Just to quote your favorite dude.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think what was my main boundary? It was just like don't fuck comics
Yeah.
while like clearing with me first, and here's one who like will just be a no.
Yeah.
Not that you would have, but there's one comedian in New York City where I'm like, please don't fuck this one, and then just like if you're gonna fuck others and they know I'm dating you, because I think I would have been fine if they didn't know.
Right.
I think my thing was I didn't want comedians to think they're cuckolding me when really I'm like, yeah, no, dude, it's all fucking dandy.
Right,
Congrats.
right.
You know, they're great in bed, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would have been more that. I don't know that I had a lot of boundaries actually with like at least stated boundaries or anything.
You never really set up anything that was like, you can't do this, you can't do that.
Because there was always a thing where like I always knew that there was nothing besides the comedian one. There just genuinely wasn't anything that I could think of, and I was really big on like if I'm uncomfortable with something, like I'll bring it up,
Yeah,
and I will not yell at you for hooking up with someone that there was no rule not to.
Right.
And I'll figure it out that way because I think that's again very limited romantic poly experience.
Right. Yeah.
To the point that like sometimes I still go back and forth between saying I'm poly and just saying I'm non-monogamous because it's like I've had open relationships that I at least never had another significant other during them. So I don't know how that all goes, but in theory am.
My current partner said that he never really identified as poly until he fell in love with two people, because the idea of polyamory is that you have the ability to love two people at once.
Yeah.
So
and it's great in theory.
Yeah. And like, I know that I can have that because I have been in love with more than one person. But yeah, maybe that's something that you'll find later in life.
Yeah. It's a thing that's not like high on my priority list where I'm like, I need to have this. I just always know I want that option open.
Yeah.
Because I do believe it could happen. I think it came close when I was dating Paige, there were a couple times where I'm like, this is a thing I would like to pursue, and then they just didn't end up happening.
Yeah.
But never really got that.
Yeah. Poly's weird. Poly's weird. My only boundaries now with my partner is like, let me know if you like fuck somebody. But that's not hard for us at all because I'm like, dude, tell me all about it. Was it great? Like, did you get any anal in? Like,
Yeah.
And I'm the only person who calls him daddy. Those are our only two things.
Sure. Did I ever call you daddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. The sex was good. I know this. The sex. I mean, look,
Right.
on my end, the sex, there were no complaints.
Right, exactly.
You?
I feel like that was one of the main reasons why I'm like, well, this is like easy and convenient and like it's good. Like, so.
Especially the part where you're saying I'm going to bed. I definitely want you close to the mic.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Sorry.
Cool.
Right. But I don't know. I guess that's probably another reason why I like kept coming back because I was just like, well, this is functional. Like, if that. I don't know.
Do you have any other thoughts about the relationship, or even also something else someone brought up that I don't think I have to get explicit into unless you have thoughts of the aftermath of it? Because I feel like almost the aftermath was longer than the relationship, at least for me.
The aftermath for me was I was with Cody.
Yeah.
And I had somebody for like a month because then he went back to Texas.
Sure.
That I was able to confide in. And I can see how it would have been a lot more difficult for you not having a partner there to like lean on.
I had Kenzie, who I guess I call a partner. I'm not sure. Kenzie's the person I called the night of the whole breakdown.
Okay, gotcha.
She's out in California, and I see
Was
her
she
like
one of the threesome girls that didn't work out with?
one of the threesome girls.
Yeah, there was like a threesome that you were trying to have and it didn't end up working out.
I mean, that's happened to me so much.
Okay, never mind.
But I mean, how many times? Yeah, I feel like threesomes fail all the times. But no, she's a person out in, she's just like, I never know what to call her because like she's not my girlfriend. I don't have romantic, but she's a very important person in my life. I do love her, and so I round up the partner because I'm like, I don't fucking know. I did have that, and that was and I was able to, she was very good for me during the breakup, but. I did have people who were not good for me after the breakup because there would be listeners who had already known like your identity through us tweeting with each other.
Right.
So like they would follow you, and like some people, like at least one woman got a little too involved. And like,
yeah,
then,
I remember that. I can't remember what her name was. But
you
she,
know,
like,
how do you?
She was like DMing me. Yeah, I had like.
Was her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. So texted me that night, or maybe not the night of the breakup, but whenever I was flying because I was in the airport.
Yeah.
And she's like, Billy, you need to stay away from this. Billy, you need to like block this woman and get away fast. She's dangerous. She used the phrase, she's dangerous. And I'm like in full tears being like, it's they, them. Which again, one of the more painful, eventually I got to a point where like, I was like, okay, I'm going to correct people once, but if they keep misgendering them, right now I'm still in pain.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
like,
let it go.
Yeah.
Because I was getting in full on arguments with people, and then I'd be like, why the fuck am I fighting over this right now? Like they're trying to help me.
Yeah.
Anyways. So I remember like she texted me like she's dangerous. I'm like, okay. I was like, you need to like we just had a podcast episode about this like 2 months ago.
Right.
Do not fucking contact people I'm dating. Do not look them
Right.
up. Do not DM them, especially after a breakup. Like do not, I think I remember when the Paige thing, because her name was out there, I was like, hi, you all know her name. Do not fucking reach out. And the same thing holds, everybody, if you're listening. Don't reach out to people you think I'm fucking dating, whatever. Don't fucking do it.
Yeah.
Until like maybe you hear on here otherwise. I'm sorry that happened. I have done my best to.
No, I don't.
I hope they didn't say anything. She didn't say
that.
anything insane.
No, I don't remember what was said, honestly. But I just remember like getting a lot of like, I got like DMs from one person, and I got a lot of like responses on tweets. And I was just like, and I would go and I'd look at it and be like, oh, random person in Kentucky. Yeah, you're probably a listener.
What kind of things were you getting, if you can recall? There's one person in my head who I think probably reached out to you and was like being supportive and nice. I just have like a gut feeling over one guy who maybe did that.
Honestly, I don't remember. It was so long ago.
Yeah.
I just remember like it just being like my Twitter was overloaded. And I hardly even use Twitter now because like like literally after that, I sort of like dropped myself off Twitter because I was like, nope, I don't want to deal with people. And like I've had spurts where I like go back on it, but I'm like,
I just wish like the way you're describing that there were like like not like you were overrun with like 200 fucking notifications, but the way you're describing like the volume of tweets, I'm just kind of like, why can't you fuckheads, like, I don't know, tweet at me that much? You like, why? I don't get that much interaction on Twitter like that.
no, it was just like
Do I have to break up with myself? What do I have to do to get you guys to talk to me, not people I date?
No, it was just like a select number of people that like, you know, after you've gone through a breakup, getting another notification from somebody is just like, I don't want to think about this right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to eat my lunch and like.
And that's what I was trying to tell. I was like, one, I don't want to fucking think about this. Stop trying to talk to me about this.
Right.
I also
think it was, but I'm not sure.
I'm starting. If she was like DMing you, I have a feeling it was probably that, and that would be that's
DMs.
that's like just highly inappropriate. But yeah, I'm sorry that happened.
No, it's okay. I never blame you for that.
Yeah.
I knew that was sort of a risk of.
I legit titled a podcast episode like
I remember.
I was like,
no, I remember.
Okay.
Because it was after the first breakup that I had people like.
And you told me that, and I think that was one of the things that caused me to tell people. Yeah. It was that, I don't know. It was an important relationship for me, and you know, I won't say like I think about you every day, but like I still do think about you a lot. These like random pockets, and I don't know, for better or for worse, we got to share some time together. But you know, when I think the memories that get me most emotional is like the good ones.
Yeah.
So like the thing, like we'll talk about the night of December 26th, and I'll tell you like this is the only time where I legitimately thought I won't wake up tomorrow. That's not going to hit me. But like thinking about like the Christmas present you got me with that, you know, with that painting, like that's the thing that's going to get me to tear up. You know, it's those happy things because like. I thought you were a great girlfriend. You were like, other than the fights, that was, you know, like you were a really good partner. And you know, it's a bar to clear without the fighting.
Yeah. I guess when I look back, all I think about is the fighting, because it's like I was so jaded by the end of it. Mm-hmm. And like, so like, I don't know. I guess I was sort of like, I never got over December 26th. So everything after that was like completely just like resentment, you know? And I left it with so much resentment.
How do you feel now?
Resentment.
Still.
Yeah.
In general, I meant like more directly, like right now we've talked for like almost an hour and a half. Like how you feeling is, I mean, if it's still resentment, that's fine. I just want to make sure you knew what I was asking about.
No, I don't think like this gets me closure or anything. Like I said, I don't know if you ever get closure from relationships or anything. I guess I still feel like that was a lot of shit.
Yeah.
For 3 months.
If we were to like take like post it like, oh no, little whatevers, pick whatever small item and like write down events, good and bad, of that relationship, you would look at just the volume of pinpoints and be like, there's no way this was 3 months. It's not a chance.
Right.
There's so much.
Yeah. But I think that was also because we were literally spending every day together.
Yeah.
Which is something that can drive you crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad we did this. What moving forward, and not that I was angry at it all. But there was once upon a time where like after the Truce joint trademark that I was like, hey, do you want to try to grab like a civilian coffee? And you were like, not in that place right now.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that you one day see happening? Not a come on type of thing. Just like, is there a day where you think like, yeah, like what's going on in my life is good, and like I think I can have coffee and catch up with Billy? Or is that a thing where I think the way you phrase it was you would really like to remain casual acquaintances?
I sort of see that as the trajectory of you and I, just because they're like I said, there is so much resentment and there is so much like trauma that goes into it that I don't think I would be able to have an enjoyable time sitting and getting coffee.
Sure.
I think that it would feel like some sort of almost like a chore.
How do we interact, say, at parties? Should I take Truce joint interaction, which if I wasn't so angry,
Yeah.
would have been a very pleasant talking to my ex interaction.
Right.
Like you were being over the top friendly and you were saying, oh, like I saw you giving that aftercare and that was really nice of you. I was with somebody who didn't give me that. And you were being like almost startlingly. Right. You got to give me one. Good.
Yeah.
I was that surprised by it because I was like, you were a total bitch to me last month and now you're being very nice. I'm very confused. Should I treat that like as an outlier? Is this something we're like in parties moving forward when we're seeing each other?
No, I'm hoping that we can be like cordial and nice to each other.
Well, cordial and nice is one thing, but is like, are we sitting down having a joint like at a play party because we just happen to be interacting and one of us has some weed and it's like, all right, we're going to like be sitting here for a bit.
I don't know what circumstances are going to come up. Sure. I think that like we've seen each other at multiple play parties at this point.
Yeah, I've been very but I've also been very like nervous.
Are you going on Saturday?
If my Dane Cook interview gets scheduled at the right time, then I can make it.
Oh, cool.
I have to go to Philadelphia to do that.
Oh, I'm going to be in LA.
Nice. But I don't know. I'm just, every time I've seen you, I've been filled with dread, very nervous. And part of me has a hard time seeing you have such a good time in a space that I introduced you to. I think,
but introducing it to someone doesn't mean that you get ownership.
Right.
Over it.
Did not say ownership. Didn't say that. And I alluded earlier in this chat. It was
that's what I was more.
Yeah. It was just, no, but that's just the motions in my mind. But actually then when I think back, it's like the most pleasant and I could have had a really cool time and you could have even sat next to me if I was being a little bit more welcoming was the True Story night. It was really the only time where I was like, oh, and I think that's why I had hit you up to be like, because I was like, that was really pleasant. And like, if our interactions can be like that, because it didn't feel like we were just being cordial because we're in the same space. That's how our other interactions pretty much at every party have been. Yeah. It seems like you're here, I'm here. We're going to do the, hey, how are you? But that night made me go like, maybe there's a path at some point where we're at least like more than just acquaintances, but at least friendly.
I think I knew and that was. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just it was almost like a shining ray, the only like ray of hope, happiness, positivity in regards to you and I since the breakup was that night.
Yeah, I think that I was feeling like a lot of like shame and guilt for the way that I had treated you at the other party.
But you had seemed to have forgotten, no?
Well, I knew that it had happened, but when you told me like the actual words that I said, that's what I didn't have the specifics on.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I was like, I know I was a total like shit bag and like people told me I was a total shit bag. So like
people told you that? Mm-hmm. And you just like
I had people basically tell me like, I'm really proud of you for doing that and for standing up for yourself, but you were too harsh.
Okay.
That was sort of like the general.
All right. Just because I'm someone who like, I mean, sometimes people have to tell me, sometimes I look at the receipts and I've had to be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
What did I do or what did I say?
Right.
And so I know what that's like.
Yeah.
So, moving forward, do we just arm's length? Hey, how are you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I'm most comfortable with that. Okay.
I want to extend to you, if that ever changes, I am open to, having a cup of coffee or a joint at a fucking show. So, yeah. Do you have any like closing thoughts? Whether it's about the relationship or this conversation or whatever.
You lost weight.
I've gained 15 pounds.
No, you lost weight.
That scale says otherwise, but thank you. That is, I'm supposed to learn how to take compliments.
Okay. Well, you're doing
I look
great.
like I've lost weight?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Shay, so you have an Indiegogo out that this is the oddest promotional tour one could do.
Yeah.
I hope all your exes have podcasts that you can also go plug your Indiegogo on. But
I was actually just on Polly Wanted podcast yesterday.
Okay,
which is pretty cool.
Whose is that?
I can't remember her name right now.
Okay, yeah. I'll look it up. So you have a pilot that you're trying to shoot, or what are you trying to shoot the whole web series? Or?
I was actually writing it when we were together.
Right. No, I remember that.
Yeah, you gave me a lot of content, my friend.
Right the fuck back at you. right the fuck back at you.
So I wrote a pilot episodic on the intersection of gender queerness and polyamory. It's about a polyamorous triad that is trying to raise a baby and what happens when that triad doesn't work out. And there's a custody battle, and there's like people dating outside of the triad and people that are sort of more like closed unit, and all these different identities of non-monogamy trying to work it out together. So it's a really, really interesting piece. It's great for the exposure not only of the polyamorous community, but also of the queer community, because it dives into like the stigma against bisexuality, and it also dives into somebody who is genderqueer and having them have issues being able to tell people about their bisexuality because of like their own past traumas. And so that's my thank you to you for that one.
Anytime.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's a really, really interesting project. I'm excited to see it going places. It's called Polygon because I like puns, and it's like poly and then somebody's gone at the end of it. So I think I'm really funny. You don't have to think that.
I thought you were hilarious and motivated and driven. And that was the initial thing, and hot, but mostly motivated, driven, and mature and funny. And so all the initial things that drew me to you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But we're fundraising for it now. I am heading to LA this weekend to be in HCF Pitch Fest, where 10 scripts were chosen to like pitch to like industry bigwigs. So I'm super, super excited for that. Yeah, I'm really, really, I've never been to LA or California for that matter. So I'm super excited. And
but you're raising money for it.
Yeah. So we have an Indiegogo, that's out right now. It's indiegogo.com/projects/polygon-pilot. So that's Indiegogo/projects/POLYGONE-pilot.
And there'll be a link for that in the show notes, everybody. And I'm sure, do you want them to follow you on social media? Do you not? That's your call.
They can follow the Polygon page, and they'll probably figure out my social media from that.
Where can they go for that?
Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Polygon the Film. POLYGONE.
The film.
Yeah.
All right.
It was originally a film.
Well, go everyone go check that out. I'm sure the link for the Indiegogo will be in those bios, but you'll find them in the show notes here. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for being candid.
Yeah.
And if you ever have any new feelings about it, come on back.
It's been super real.
It has been real.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's been real, and it's been. Wait, what is it?
I don't know. I do not know how you feel about this conversation.
No, it's like the thing I used to say to you. It has been real, and it has been fun, but it has not been real fun.
I think I blacked that part out.
Okay.
Why don't you say goodbye to everybody?
Okay, bye, toodles.
Again, the link to the Indiegogo campaign is in the show notes, so just scroll on down. You'll see a link for that there. And of course, go follow Polygon on their socials. If there was ever an episode, I want to hear what you thought. This is the episode, okay? Definitely want to know what you how did you react to this conversation? Was all the emotional labor putting this one together worth your while? Let me know. You can comment on the Man Whore Podcast Facebook page. You can tweet at me at @thebillyprocida, or you can shoot me an email at manwhorepod@gmail.com. Definitely want to hear from y'all on this one. If you want to join like-minded, sex-positive listeners like yourself and support this podcast, because, hey, it's a free podcast, become a member of my fan whore community on Patreon. You'll get to see all sorts of private posts from yours truly, access to secret fan whore communities like the Champagne Room and the Peep Show, and you'll get to listen to exclusive bonus episodes that you can only hear on Patreon. Membership begins at $2 a month. All you gotta do is head on over to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Last but certainly not least, ManWhoreCon people, come on out to New York City August 2nd through August 4th and give me a hug, because I might still be sad from this episode. Super early bird discount weekend passes are on sale until Friday night, April 5th. Those are just $55 for an insanely fun, awesome, weekend here in New York City with people just like yourself and, yours truly. Starting Saturday, those weekend passes will be $75. Go to manwhorepod.com/weekend and secure your spot. There are limited passes. Next week is a little less emotionally intensive episode, at least for myself. We have got on the head of Swap Behind Bars. That's the sex worker outreach project. Alex Andrews, everybody. But until then, try not to be too sad. At least that's what I'm going to try to do. Instead, I'm going to try to stay slutty.